Section 17 of the Sandman, His Farm Stories. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Prajakta. The Sandman, His Farm Stories by William John Hopkins. The Chicken Story. Once upon a time, there was a farmhouse, and it was painted white and had green blinds, and it stood not far from the road. In the fence was a wide gate to let the wagons through to the barn, and the wagons going through had made a track that led up past the kitchen door, and past the shed, and past the barn, and past the orchard to the wheat field. Behind the barn was the hen house, and inside the hen house there were long poles that went all the way across for the hens to sit on to sleep. Those poles they call roosts. In winter, the hens all sleep on the roosts in the hen house because it is warmer there, but in the summer, they like to get up in the trees and sleep out of doors. Along the side of the hen house were some boxes with hay in them and a board along the top. These were the nests, and in each nest was a pretend egg made of china. The hens would see the pretend egg and think it was real, and they would lay the real eggs in the nests, for they like to lay eggs in places where eggs are already. There was a little door low down for the hens to go through, and outside was a yard with a fence around made of strips of wood. In this fence was a door that was kept shut in winter but was open in summer so that the hens and chickens could go out and eat the bugs and worms. Bugs and worms sometimes eat the growing things that the farmers have planted, so the farmers like to have the chickens eat the bugs and worms. And in the side of the hen house was a big door for people to go through. When the summer was beginning, there were a good many hens and some chickens that were half grown up, and a very old rooster, and some that were not so old. Sometimes the roosters would fight, but they didn't fight very hard, for they were not the kind that fight hard. All the roosters and the hens and the chickens that were half grown up flew up into the trees when it was beginning to be dark, and they sat on the branches in long rows and put their heads under their wings and went to sleep. The very old rooster and most of the hens roosted in the apple trees in the orchard, but some of the hens roosted in other trees. And in the middle of the night, the old rooster waked a little and crowed, but it wasn't a very loud crow. But when it began to be light in the morning, the old rooster waked and flapped his wings and crowed very loud, and that waked the other roosters, and they flapped their wings and crowed. And the hens waked, and all the roosters and the hens flapped their wings and flew down to the ground and began to look about for their breakfast. Some of the hens stayed in the orchard and looked about on the ground and scratched up the dirt and picked up the bugs and worms that they found. Some of them went over to the cowyard and flew over the fence and scratched around there, and they drank water out of the big tub in the corner. And some of the hens went to the kitchen door to see what things Aunt Deborah had thrown down there for them to eat. The chickens that were half grown up went over to the fields where the potatoes and the beans and the peas were growing, and they ran about among the vines and picked the bugs and worms off the vines. After a while, when all the hens and chickens had finished their breakfasts, some of the hens went into the hen house to lay eggs. Each of these hens laid one egg in one of the nests, and when she had laid the egg, she came out of the hen house and cackled and made a great noise, for that is the way hens do. But there were two of the hens that did not like to lay eggs in the hen house. One of these hens walked along the little road and across the wheat field into the maple sugar woods. She had made a nest there, out of dried grass and leaves, and it was hidden away under some bushes where nobody could find it. That hen laid an egg in that nest every day until she had laid 9. Then she sat on the eggs and kept them warm. And she came over to the farmhouse every day to get something to eat, and then she went back to her nest again. And when she had sat on those eggs for 3 weeks, the little chickens came out of the shells and ran about. And then she walked over to the farmhouse, and the little chickens ran along with her. The other hen that wouldn't lay eggs in the hen house made a nest in the wheat field. But little John found that nest and took the eggs away, so she didn't have any chickens. When the hens had laid their eggs, they went out into the road and sat down in the dust and scratched the dust up all over themselves, for they liked the warm dust in among their feathers. And they stayed there until they were hungry again. Then they scratched around in the dirt and ate some more bugs and worms and the things that Aunt Deborah threw out for them to eat. And so they did until it began to get dark. Then they all walked along to the orchard or to some other trees, and they stood under the trees and looked up and gave queer little jumps and flapped their wings, and they flew up into the trees and sat on the branches. And they went along the branches sideways until they had found the places they liked. Then they squatted down and put their heads under their wings and went to sleep. And that's all. End of section 17.